Hey, thanks for stopping by. I just picked up this used leather seat for my M925A1 project. In this video, we're going to get this thing cleaned up. We're going to go over trying to remove some of these creases and damage on the seat. And then we're going to go into dyeing the gray portion of the seat black, so this whole seat's black. I want to give a shout out to Vanderhaeg's Used Truck Parts. That's where I bought this used seat. $330 is all I paid, which I think is awesome for someone like me who's trying to do this project on a budget. Obviously not going to be putting millions of miles in this seat in the 925A1, and it's in great condition, and with a little cleaning up, it's going to be just as good as new for me, and probably you too if this is something you want to pursue. I also want to give a shout out to autoleatherdye.com, where I bought this dye and conditioner kit for leather and vinyl. They have fantastic customer support, and if you need a custom color mixed up, you can even send them a color sample and they will make that custom color dye for you. So here is the initial walk around on this seat. You can see quite a bit of dust on it. The back is pretty rough. This must have been writing against the back of the cab. You can see the paint is worn off. This is obviously cut all the way through. You've got some of the backing of the insulation of the cab stuck to the back. I do like this because we got something we can store our manual or paperwork in on the back. Lots of dirt, lots of stains. The biggest one is going to be where they had some parts sitting in the truck, leaned up against the headrest on the seat, and it left a huge indentation. Now seats, the brand seats, wants about $400 for a new cover, which is just a cover that slides over the back, and then another $400 for the seat, which is actually the cushion and whatever brackets inside it. So I'd be spending $800, and then I did not realize the armrests are actually gray too. So I'm sure they'd want well over $1,000 just for the new leather, which is ridiculous. We're gonna go ahead and clean this up and dye it and have less than $100 into reconditioning it. So the very first step before we do anything else is to simply vacuum it, get all that excess dirt sucked up that we can, so we're not smearing that into our microfiber towel or our brushes. Of course, I'll leave a link in the description for everything I'm using in this video. Here I've got the rigid vacuum cleaner. I've got their smaller automotive cleaning hose kit and attachments. This really ups the suction power on this thing. It's incredible. If you've ever watched any detailing videos before at all, you're probably usually blown away by what a difference just vacuuming something can make. And if you haven't checked it out already, I encourage you to check out my video, which I will link at the end of this video, as well as in the description, on my detailing cart. This is a cart I built with a cart from Harbor Freight and have all my detailing accessories on it. So while I let the steamer heat up, we're going to clean this thing off first. To do that, I'll be using a combination of brushes. These are the light bristle brushes. I got a big one for the main seat body and this small one to get into all the seams and small nooks and crannies. For my cleaner, I'll be using Super Clean at a 1:10 ratio with water, a microfiber towel, And of course, always make sure you have your gloves. Not only does that protect you from the chemicals, it makes handling these microfiber cloths easier. So we'll start out just by misting our super clean. And we'll go ahead and we'll just let this soak in and break up that gunk and grime for a couple 30 seconds to a minute. Once you've allowed the super clean to do its job, we'll come in with the bristle brush. We'll actually pre-dilute the brush with more super clean. And we're going to gently roll this back and forth across the surface. One direction, come back, go the next, and then we'll come back with our smaller brush and hit all of our seams. Now I'll simply come in with a microfiber cloth and wipe it off to remove any of the grime that we've agitated. And as you can see, there's a tremendous difference just from simply vacuuming, degreasing, and scrubbing the seat. There is one problematic spot right here. There's a grease stain of some sort right there that I was not able to remove. Also an indentation. And my guess is it's the bottom of whatever was propped up and shoved into our headrest here. So to try to remove this part, I'm actually going to apply some steam to this. I'll also be applying steam to try to fix these creases here. If you feel the seat though, you can feel the cushion, and you can feel there's some permanent deformation to the cushion material itself. So I don't expect to get a complete fix to this, but hopefully we can tighten this up at least a little bit. Now for this part, I'm going to try steam before I try the heat gun. The heat gun's a lot more vigorous, aggressive, a lot easier to screw things up. The steam, obviously it puts moisture out, so it's going to make it harder to dry that leather out, and I just think this is a safer thing to start with, just to try it. And I've got a damp cloth here just to go over the area after I get the heat of the steam in there, and hopefully wipe away this grease stain too. Now I'm not going to worry about the discoloration quite so much because we're going to be re-dyeing this anyway. My biggest goal is just to get any grease removed so the dye can properly bite into the leather here. As you can see here, we got most of the color out, which the heat gun wouldn't have helped us to do at all. And we also got most of that wrinkle out of there. On the front, it made a little improvement. I think the heat gun might be a better option for this. But first, I'm going to try a different attachment on my steam gun. Now the biggest problem with this steam gun in particular is it's just not that big. It doesn't produce that much steam or that hot of steam as your industrial kits. You're going to have to spend a lot more money or go rent something to get the same results that you'll see the professionals get when they're steaming leather. But we'll give this a try. This definitely seems like a much better option for applying the steam. Again, since this isn't an industrial machine, the problem is we're going to run out of steam. So now I'm going to have to sit and let this regenerate for a bit because I'm getting lots of water rather than steam coming out. But this definitely seems to be doing the job that we want it to do. So we'll let it regenerate and we'll move on to the back of the seat. So I'm going to clean this seat and do as much as I can with it assembled. We'll recline it to get in and out of the nooks and crannies where we can. But when I actually go to dye this, I'm going to split this seat down into the 4 pieces so we can get every single piece of gray dyed without having to worry about getting down where the seat's touching itself. So as you can see, a little bit of scrubbing, it looks brand new. We even got the grease stain out that was right there. I've put a lot of effort into trying to scrub this thread clean because I plan to dye over that. I don't know how the thread is going to react to the dye. I'm assuming it'll turn black, but I don't want it to be kind of gray and stick out like a sore thumb. I really want it to take on a nice dark black dye, and hopefully it'll just be transparent. You won't really notice it. So next we're going to move on to trying to repair this big damaged spot in the headrest with a steam gun. I'll also mention really quickly that I screwed my cloths up. This was supposed to be for wiping off after cleaning. This is supposed to be my damp cloth for using with the steamer. I contaminated this, so just make sure you keep your cloth straight. You don't want to be smearing grease back into your clean part after you cleaned it. Once you've steamed it, I'd kind of defeat the purpose of degreasing it. So as you can see, this is helping a tremendous amount. Still not quite done. You can still definitely see a big divot right there. We got a very definitive crease right here and right here that I'd still like to get out. But one thing that it kind of seemed to me like when I was steaming was the cushion material underneath seemed to be expanding out, and some of this divot seemed to be kind of relieving itself. So we're going to let the steamer regenerate, and then we'll come in and go for a round 2. But for your initial try, for just maybe 2 minutes of steaming, what an awesome change in appearance. Now keep in mind that while we are cleaning this, this is a very vigorous, aggressive thing to do to leather. This isn't something you want to go out and do to your seats every couple months. If you got to spot treat a spot where you got a stain, you know, that's fine. You definitely don't want to do this process to the entire seat any more often than you absolutely have to, because it's just going to wear that leather out that much quicker. The reason we're starting with this before we do the dye is because I don't want to be applying aggressive amounts of heat or steam to a freshly dyed surface, because I want that dye to last as long as possible, and there's no reason to come in with a heat gun or the steamer after we've just dyed it. As you can see, we have a significant improvement in our headrest here. There's still a little dimple. I'm running out of water in my steamer, so before it runs out, I'm going to try one more spot on the base of our seat. Then we're going to come back and see if we can hit this a little more aggressively with the heat gun. And again, a very much improved appearance here, but we'll still go around the seams where it's harder to hit with a steam gun, and we'll see if the heat gun can take these out. But if all you have is a steam gun, very safe option to try to get some of these creases out. Night and day difference to how it was when we started. And all I can say is, wow, what a significant difference to when we started. Can't even hardly tell this ever had that giant crease. I actually thought this was cut when I was buying it, looking at it, at the pictures of it on the web page. Now, unfortunately, my stupid Sony ZV-1 decided to randomly shut off in the middle of filming without making any noises, and I never noticed it until I was done with the heat gun, so I apologize for that. Now I'll come in and we'll see if we can remove these creases. We got one guy right here, and then we'll see if we can do anything about these here. This dimple is actually completely removed just from the steamer. Only thing we have left is that little tiny bit of stain. And as you can see, this much improved. Hardly see any creases here now. And this little spot is 100% gone. We have just the slightest amount of sludge left on there. I'll hit this with the cleaner one more time before we get into the auto leather dye setup. But before we give up on taking creases out, I want to see what we can do about these spots here. Now on this part, I'm not sure we actually did any good, and I'm not sure that these are necessarily creases, or if I introduced this stretch and sagging from tightening this portion up. It seems to me like there's nowhere for this material to go. It actually wasn't possibly pulled tight enough down to these two corners when this was actually manufactured. So I don't think we're going to be able to get those creases out. I would actually possibly just chalk this up as manufacturing error. Well, we are certainly scooting right along on this. It already looks night and day different from when we started in our video. The next thing I'm going to do is flip it around, and we're going to address the carpet on the back. We're actually going to do a little bit of a carpet shampoo, use a bristle brush to agitate everything. Hopefully, if there's any smoke or funky smells in it from the hundreds of thousands of miles that this road and the semi it came out of, we'll be able to get those out with our extractor. All right, so now we're going to give a light application of our carpet cleaner solution. The only real greasy spot I see is right in here. So we'll give a liberal coating right there. The rest of it, just a light coat, and that's it. We'll then take our soft bristle brush and gently agitate everything. And there you can see some of the crud and filth that we picked up just from using the brush. Next we'll come in with our very noisy extractor and basically suck the filth out and get rid of the soap as well. And that's it. And while you can see we didn't pull out a ton of stuff with the extractor, we did remove that nasty grease spot, and we got this thing looking nice and fresh. Once it's dry, we'll come back and we'll spray on a coat of our fabric protector.